Welcome back to Conejo Valley Visionaries. I'm your host, Cristina Dennstedt. So in an effort to be completely transparent, I'm in one of those seasons where negative self-talk is sneaking into everything. Work, big ideas, even blow drying my hair this morning. I've caught myself thinking, this is going to be awful. I hate blow drying my hair. If that sounds familiar, today's episode of Conejo Valley Visionaries is for you. My guest is Erica Spiegelman, a best-selling author, licensed substance abuse counselor, wellness coach, and Westlake resident, who shares powerful tools through her method, Rewired, to help us change the way we talk to ourselves. We talk about reframing self-doubt as business owners, navigating sobriety and wellness changes, and how these same tools are being used everywhere, from personal growth to prisons. Erica also shares her own journey to sobriety and how that path shaped the work she does today. This conversation is honest, grounding, and full of practical takeaways for anyone who wants to live a more fulfilling, intentional life. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Erica Spiegelman. If you enjoy this episode and find value in the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and rating. This helps more people find the podcast, and therefore each story can reach more folks in the Conejo Valley. I am thrilled to share that we are going to be hosting our second annual Conejo Valley Visionary Live Female Founders event at Hub 101 again this year. They were excellent partners last year, and I cannot wait to invite you back for the event in March. If you're interested in attending, please DM me, Female Founders, to get early access to tickets. Hope to see you there. Hey, Erica, welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yes, I am too. I know we have, one of the cool things about this podcast or the community is they're always referring people to be on the podcast, which I really appreciate. So shout out to Beta, who brought your name up to me. And I know we've, sort of have other people in common, but it's really fun because it just continues to open up this network of incredible entrepreneurs, business owners, experts out here in the Conejo Valley I get to speak to. And I'm so looking forward to hearing about your journey to where you are right now. So as we always like to do on the podcast is go back to the beginning. And so Erica, what did you want to be when you were a kid? Where did you grow up to?
I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was born in San Francisco in the city, and then we moved south towards Menlo Park, Palo Alto, Atherton area. And I went to school over there pretty much in the South Bay. As a kid, I wanted to be like a singer and actress. I did musical theater. And so I think that was my first profession that was, as a little girl in my head of, oh, I could be on stage and be a singer. However, as I explored musical theater through my teens, I loved the singing aspect, but the acting not so much. But I did. I went to ACT, it's American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, Carnegie Mellon. I did a summer camp there when I was 16. So it was kind of a dream. But I also always loved to write, as a hobby. So I thought maybe I'd write screenplays. I mean, I am a writer now of books, but so yeah, both those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far did you go into pursuing, it sounds like you went to some camps for musical theater, but did you go to school and try to pursue it in school after high school, or what did you decide to kind of pivot to?
So my junior year of high school, I applied all by myself. I was very independent to go to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh from California for I think it was an 8-week program, a musical theater program. And only one of those candidates or one of the attendees got into Carnegie Mellon, their musical theater program from that summer. So it was a big deal to get into this and go. And I saw these young actresses throwing themselves on the ground crying. And, I was like, that's not me. So after that summer, I made peace with the fact of doing it professionally or pursuing that. But I did go to college and I majored in literature and I minored in media arts. So it was film, media, and artistic writing. And so again, I think that fulfilled that curiosity and desire to stay within that little world. And then I moved to LA after college and I worked in the entertainment industry at a talent agency. So I kind of circled that for a little while in different ways. Yeah.
That's like a marriage of those two passions. It sounds like writing plus the sort of entertainment, musical theater desire.
Yeah.
You started writing where I know, now you are a best-selling author. We'll go into Rewired and all the ventures you have right now. But at what point did you think that you would, when you were right out of college, you studied literature there, were you thinking you'd want to pursue writing? Tell us how you got to this path of becoming an author.
No, there was a lot of twists and turns after college. But I thought possibly like working, you know, with writers, for writers, like at the talent agency, representing writers. I thought it would just be interesting to be in that world. I always found it fascinating, and I love playwriting. But yeah, no, after college. I moved to New York for a little bit. I was trying to find my path, and I got into the health and wellness industry when I changed my life in terms of choosing a healthier path for myself at 27 years old. And then I went back to school at UCLA and became a counselor. And so with change in my own personal life and then professionally, um, I had really like always kind of loved psychology and therapy too, as just I read books on it. It was just like a hobby. And then it's interesting how two things come together in life. And becoming an addiction counselor and working at treatment centers, I started writing handouts. And this was like before iPhones, definitely before AI, like handouts on the things that resonated with me in terms of self care that helped me change my life routine and changing the way I thought about things and changing my habits and my practices and incorporating good boundaries and all the things I'd done for myself, I was helping clients do. And I was creating worksheets. And before I knew it, like after 2 or 3 years, I had over 75 groups I created. And I thought to myself, gosh, I wish I could share in a larger way, a bigger platform of how I rewired my life. And that word kept coming up. And so I said, I'm going to write a book called Rewired. And that's really where all this came from, was my experience professionally, coming up with groups that were helpful. And so, yeah,
So let's go back to 27-year-old Erica. Can you
yeah,
tell us a little bit more about this wellness
yeah,
change, or what was happening maybe early 20s in your life that led you
yeah.
to where you are?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I talk about it so openly. I mean, I think it's so good for all of us to obviously share our experiences. So yeah, I think out of college, I drank, a lot in college, but nothing like problematic. And then I think out of college, or maybe some would say in college, it was all problematic for all of us. Um,
Okay,
but
I'm guilty of that.
yes, but afterwards, when I moved to New York, I just saw like a really big change in my like spirituality, demeanor. I felt depressed, and I know drinking was what was wrong, and so I quit drinking at 27. I got help, and then I had a therapist, and went through all these stages of really getting to know what I needed in order to live my best life. I felt like alcohol was, in the way, it was of self betrayal all the time. Every time I drank, I woke up and felt horrible and wasn't motivated and didn't work out and didn't take care of myself the way that I wanted to and knew I could. I knew there was a
Mhm.
potential. And thank God, with the feedback from my family of like, you're not yourself and what's wrong and what's going on, I was able to identify that, and thank God it that was it. Once I quit drinking, everything fell into place in my life. And I really had this like, an internal knowing of what to do for myself. Although, yes, I read books, therapy, I kind of understood. God, I feel so proud of myself when I have a routine and I go to bed at the same time and I make my bed and I move my body and I nourish myself and I got rid of people that were unhealthy or toxic and chaotic, and just kind of tapped into all of that. And it really was one of the most beautiful times of my life. It was like a flourishing in so many ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so that's what propelled me to go back to school to help others to kind of get the education behind it, understand our brain, the pharmacology, family systems, all these other things you learn when you go back to school. So that was it.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, and
Yeah.
congratulations on being able to identify that. I mean,
Yeah.
and 27, that feels really impressive that you had that awareness to know that those routines were what made you feel the best, and to
Yeah.
be able to like break those patterns. I was thinking about that even today, just this idea of structure. We, as kids, they say, when you're a parent, kids really rely on
Yeah.
structure, and that helps them get through their day. And then at some point we sort of lose that idea, and
Yeah.
or some of us maybe,
Right.
and then kind of going back to that and being aware of like that is actually what helps, like in terms of structure, routines, those things, like
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
what make you feel better.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what Rewired is sort of at the core, right? Are these
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah.
routines or rituals or things that can help people maybe break those
Right.
bad patterns?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and you're so correct. I have 2 young kids myself. I have a 6 and 7-year-old, and like creating that safety. I mean, I think I was creating that for myself at 27 because my life was so chaotic, due to being unhappy and not connected to myself, that the minute I became connected and obviously stopped poisoning myself, and I was able to be like, wow, I feel safe, I feel free. Like this is actual freedom. Like freedom is not, you know, going out every night. Freedom is knowing that I feel safe within myself now. And so, yeah, I think it's very similar with kids. I see that of like, I know when bath time is, I know when bedtime is, I know what to, and especially, in terms of energy from your parents, you know what to expect from your parents. There isn't such, and I understand people go through many things within their adulthood, but trying to stay consistent emotionally and attuned emotionally to your kids is everything, and that's
We
maybe what
try
some
for
of
that,
us
right?
didn't get, yeah. No, I just think just even being aware of it and like, no, I'm not always my best. No human is. Like we have moments where we falter, but again, recognizing it, apologizing, explaining, still attuning, even if we do get upset is okay, So yeah, yeah. I love it. And yes,
So were
rewired
you
is the basis of that. So yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
And were you living in New York when this change happened, and then you moved to UCLA to LA? Is that
Yeah,
right?
I was actually living in San Francisco. I came back from New York. I went back to San Francisco where my dad was living, and lived there for a little while, and then came to LA. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So you went to back to school to
Mm,
become a counselor.
yeah, yeah.
And did you imagine you would start your own practice, or how did you think you would be utilizing that education?
You know, I immediately started working at treatment centers since LA is so saturated with uh, addiction treatment centers. I got my first job at a treatment center in Culver City called Beit Teshuva, and I worked there for a while, which was a really cool experience. And then went to Malibu to a place Passages, a really well known place, and that is where the groups came, and the idea for the book came. And then once I wrote Rewired, which is right here, I just happen to have everything stacked here for
Of
clients.
course.
But after that, I did start to get people that found me through my books, and that's how the private practice began. I started, seeing people from all over. People that left the treatment center would want to continue on with me as a counselor, doing therapy. So that's how that started. And then after a while, it became I had a lot of clients, and so I didn't need to really work at a treatment center anymore. And my private practice began, over 15 years ago, and so that's what I've been doing, and then writing the books and creating programs. Yeah.
What would you, how would you explain sort of the thesis of Rewired?
Yeah. Rewired is about empowering people with tools for their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual self care. Some of us can't, lean into maybe physical self care more, and we think that's going to solve our issues or make us feel good. But again, it's we have to look at ourselves holistically. And so my goal with Rewired is to empower people with these concepts of authenticity and honesty and boundaries, communication, healthy solitude, self-love, and become like, like an internal change has to happen first. And so again, tapping into that, giving people the tools to change internally, then we'll see the external changes as that comes. But helping people really feel empowered, I mean, that's for me key, in recovery, and in just everyone I feel like is recovering from something. We carry some shame, we carry some secrets, we carry some narratives that don't serve us. They're false narratives, or they're narratives that are outdated, and we need to rewrite those narratives. But first, we have to understand, like, what is going on in your thoughts. I mean, your thoughts are everything. I mean, it's where we start the day, where we end the day. And so for me, in particular, I started out in this field. Right now, I'm expanding to just general wellness and trying to help everybody with a new program coming out called um, I won't. We'll talk about it later. But it really just trying to get people to see that you can change your thought habits. Our brains, in terms of the neural pathways, can be rewired. We can create new, repetition and habits and things that can lead us down very healthy paths in becoming your own best friend, self-compassion, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Mm. Was there one idea, gosh, that, like, in with your when you were working at the treatment centers, you mentioned you were building these handouts, like, what was kind of that aha moment or crux in which you saw a lot of your clients sort of responding to?
Um, I think it was like something I call non-negotiables. So, which, we could look at like boundaries, but I think people really responded to um, creating non-negotiables. I created them for myself by myself at 27 years old, and I continue to update them. I continue to look at my life. What I had as my non-negotiables at 27 have been tended to. Have I created those boundaries? I've stuck to them, and my life has become so much better for that. But as time has gone and different phases have happened, I've decided on new non-negotiables, and non-negotiables could be for your self-care, physical self-care, moving 3 times a week, let's say, or whatever those are. Or I won't allow people to yell at me. I won't have those kinds of relationships. I won't let people belittle me anymore. I will do this. I will do that. And again, I think for an overarching non-negotiable for everybody is no more self-betrayal. If we could really say that to ourselves day to day, like,
Mhm.
I won't betray myself anymore. I'm not going to take crumbs from a relationship that's unhealthy. I'm not going to allow myself to be manipulated or walked all over. I'm not going to be saying yes when I want to say no. And again, all those things really come down to honoring ourselves. And so I think for that, that's kind of what makes my program different, is like that's the number one priority. And that's
Okay.
what, yeah.
And I'm just curious because I love that idea, and I like the idea of it non-negotiables and, like, writing them down and being,
Mhm.
like, explicit so that you have something you can look back at too.
Yeah.
How does somebody even get to the point, though, where they know who they are, that they're not betraying, if that makes sense?
Who they what? I'm sorry.
Like, who, like you said, I don't know, you're not taking crumbs from a
Right,
relationship,
right,
you're not letting
right,
people walk.
right.
How does, like, somebody get to that place of awareness of knowing that they are, um, who they are, that,
Yeah.
like, they can know the counterpoint of somebody how they would be betrayed. I don't think I'm phrasing this
No, I
correctly,
get it.
but
No, no, no. I get what you're saying. Like, how would somebody recognize that something is unhealthy or not good for them, or right,
sure,
or that
right,
they're
yeah, 'cause I
going
think everybody's
down?
different, right? Like,
Yeah.
some people
People
are,
are unaware that, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Um, That's a good question. I mean, I think every individual, like you said, is different. There's some of us that are so I would say used to or familiar with unhealthy interactions because maybe they're familiar from just that's all they've known for 20 years. Let's say they're in a relationship where it's just been unhealthy and they don't know from healthy. So again, gauging that with a therapist or a counselor, or listening to a podcast on healthy, gauging it from a professional and saying like, is does this feel healthy to you? And it's not normal, but it's just what's healthy. Also, I think for a lot of people,
yeah.
we deal with self denial, or like we're in denial of something, right? But again, I think writing is a really wonderful outlet for us to get to know our inner thoughts. So I would encourage anybody that's a little bit, you know, on the fence of what am I happy? Is this good? Is this not good? Is this healthy? Is it not? To start writing of like, does this make me feel good? I mean, in every workbook book, every course I have a lot of questions, check-ins with yourself, because I think that does help the process of becoming more aware. Um, but I think at the end of the day, do you feel safe, loved, and supported by this decision, this job, this person, this friendship, this whatever it is? And if it's like, not really, not always, that's where we can start to really explore, like, why am I on the fence, or why is this a maybe?
I like that. Safe,
Yeah.
loved, and supported. Those are good things to kind of keep in mind. That really makes a lot of sense. And I think
Yeah.
that, this idea of, like, as somebody who I like to meditate, and I feel like that's been
Yeah.
something that's helpful because then it does sort of force the journaling part of it in my brain too. But
Yeah.
it's hard to think of, like, what is, like, is it my intuition?
Yeah.
Is it wrong or right? Like, I see other people doing it. I think that is part of sort of which again has always impressed me at like the age of 27, be able to like be aware of that. But I think as we get older, at least for me, I like being able to have the tools or the wherewithal to kind of see what that is
Yeah.
has come with age for me.
Oh, totally. I agree. I agree completely. I mean, even in, I've been on my healthy path for 18 years. It's a long time, but even within that time, I've been in unhealthy relationships that I didn't know necessarily why I was in or how to get out of or what.
Yeah.
So we all grow and learn and evolve. I think as we do age, become wiser, we have more experiences to look back on and pull from. Um, but again, I think it's all good. Like it's all learning lessons. But even within that unhealthy time, if I look back on that, I knew deep in my heart it wasn't a very healthy place to be. I just didn't know really if I wanted to be out of it yet, right? It's like,
Right.
or
Yeah.
how to go. And again, I always just try and like have people look at things like that when they're stuck with curiosity instead of judgment on
Mm,
themselves of just like,
mhm.
I'm really stuck here. I wonder what that's trying to teach me versus like, oh, what's wrong with you? Like you should have been out of this years ago. And because that is like a different energy that we have with ourselves versus being curious actually allows us to move forward sometimes and end certain chapters.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
At what point did you come out here to the Conejo Valley? I know
Yeah.
you're based in the Westlake Village area. Are Why did you end up here?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great question. I never had come out here. I lived in LA for over 12 years in like the Brentwood area, and I'd never been out this direction north. And I met my husband in 2015, and we got married in 2017. And he was working in Thousand Oaks, and his parents were living out here, and they worked at Amgen. And so I would come out for dinners to go to their house. So I started coming to this area and seeing how gorgeous it was, and driving out here. And we had our first child, and we were living in the Palisades. And then we got pregnant right away. Like they're 1 year apart, so back to back. And
I have 7-year-old twins,
oh,
so,
okay.
it's not the same, but it's similar.
It's very similar. Yes, the 6 and 7 year
Yeah,
olds. Yeah. And so we were like, oh my gosh, another baby. We need more room. You're commuting 2 hours a day, driving to Thousand Oaks from over there. And so again, we were like, let's go look for houses out here. So we did. And so we
yeah,
came out, we found our house in 2019. And um, thank gosh, before those fires, before, you know, COVID, right before COVID. So we got in
right,
early and just fell in love with it. Yeah. And love
yeah.
it. And haven't left, and hopefully plan on not leaving. Yeah.
Do you think that there is something about as like I used to live in LA and New York before that and
Yeah.
now live out here, and there's a lot of listeners who are relatively new to the area too.
Yeah.
Is there something like from a physical or emotional security that like living in the suburbs does help
Yes.
like in a way, like living
Yes.
out here that maybe
Absolutely.
can be a way of sort of rewiring yourself?
Yeah. I think so. I was just talking to my mom about this today. Just like again, the word safety comes up. Like my kids, I feel very safe out here. I feel for them to be at a park, I don't have to like watch them I mean, I'm watching them, but again, it's other kids we know, other families where, it's just very safe out here, which I think helps our nervous system in many ways. Obviously, like seeing greenery every day in a lake, we live near the lake. Is amazing for our mood. It's mood boosting chemicals. It's like endorphins. I mean, we have access to nature. We have access to movement in nature, hiking, mountain biking, like we're very active family. My kids, we hike every weekend. So I think it's really emotionally and spiritually, it's a beautiful place to be. And I do think it helps. Like it helps our brain de-stress and like compartmentalize things. Like on the weekends, we can leave our week and go, we have everything right at our footsteps. So I do think
Yeah.
it's really great for our overall self-care. And also the lack of that traffic and the noise and like the driving, the chaos that comes with that stress that's in LA is like worth it for me. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I agree. I think it's like
Mm.
it removes some layers of like of hard, if you
Yeah.
in quotes, that
Yeah.
maybe allow you to sort of even feel more centered and be able to have like the brain space to kind of get to some of these things that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I never felt more like at peace when I drive back from the city to here and I come into the valley. I'm like, like I could breathe. I feel, yeah, relieved.
Yeah, I heard once too. I don't know if you agree with this, that like even looking at a horizon like
Mhm.
that's open,
Yeah.
like can also help your brain sort
Yeah.
of release. And obviously, we have a lot of amazing open space, and so even maybe as like a practice, if you feel uptight or something, is to like go and take a look at the horizon here, and it's so beautiful. And you can't really get that in LA if you're in the center of
No,
all of it.
no. And socially, I think, you don't need to have like, I mean, it's not like you have to tens and 20 new friends or anything like that, but again, I think because it's a smaller area and people, you feel socially more connected. Or I think a lot of us are in the same stage of our lives, some of us are young kids, and you get to have a community, which is
Right.
obviously, like we all know, very good for our emotional health, is to find
Right.
community even within the kids school or sports. And seeing the same people over and over helps us also feel more connected,
Mm,
which in LA or bigger cities, I mean, you could have neighborhoods, but I think it's a little bit more challenging.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of community, tell us about New Spirit Recovery.
Yeah.
That's your treatment center.
Yeah. So New Spirit Recovery is a treatment center in Encino and Tarzana that I help co-found, and we help people with addiction issues. It's an inpatient, so people residential stay there and have amazing therapy and groups and self care. We have rock to recovery coming. We have musicians coming. We have yoga. We have all the good things, so people could heal and get on the path of recovery. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you imagine, like, when you think about, so, you've got your personal practice, you've got these recovery centers, you're writing books. Are you still,
Mm.
do you have more books on the horizon?
Yeah, yeah. No, I have right now. It's called Grow with Rewired, and it's the 8 pillars of the Rewired method. Um, it's the 8 pillars to change your mindset, basically, and it's an online course coming out for the general public based on a book I wrote called The Rewired Life, which is um, basically just tons of self-care tools for every single human. It has nothing to do with the recovery world, but it's empowering people with emotional awareness, and like we were talking about, how to change the narrative, how to create healthier boundaries, and how to introduce self-love, self-compassion when we're lacking that. So I'm excited to launch this online course in a couple weeks, and it's for every single person out there. It's kind of based on the Rewired method. My Rewired method is in 1,100 prisons across the U.S. on tablets, and so
Hmm.
um, tablets from a company called Adovo. Adovo, I don't know how they've done it, but they're amazing. They've gotten their tablets, educational tablets, into thousands of 1,000 plus prisons, juvenile detention centers, and jails. And they asked me years ago, would you contribute I have an online Rewired recovery program to help people with tools so they could recover while they're in prison. And I gave it to them, and it's been doing really well. We've had 10,000 incarcerated learners complete the program.
Wow.
And so using the information, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual self-care tools and questions and journaling prompts and everything, I've now turned that into Grow with Rewired for everyone else. So it's worked for thousands of people, and now I want the general public to have the same tools. So that's like my biggest thing I've been working on. And it comes with, when you do the online course, it comes with a brand new workbook. um, so Grow with Rewired. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. From that, is there sort of like one daily practice that you would share with the general public, that they should kind of consider to integrate into their lives if they're not already?
Yeah. I think a gratitude practice is the number one thing that has helped me. Not only, like, again, change my brain, but stay positive and stay uplifted and excited about life. And I do think it's because I did it every single day for years on end. Like I
Mm.
had the same time, the same place. I would sit and I would drop into like what I was grateful for so deeply that I could be like moved to tears. And I hold that thought of gratitude for 4 to 6 seconds. So
Okay.
I don't just write like I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my mom, I'm grateful for I sit and I'll think of like my mom's face and I'll hold it, or my kid's face, or, and it really helps you drop in, and it changes. Obviously, we focus on our blessings and we create that practice early on in our mornings. It creates, a focus on the things that we have and that we are blessed with, versus if I wake up in the morning and I focus on my worries, what I don't have, what hasn't happened yet, who didn't call me back yet, who's supposed to email me, and this is not happening for me, why isn't this happening for me? Stop the noise.
Mm.
Stop the noise. And if everyone out there can implement this first thing in the morning, like while you're brushing your teeth, if you don't,
Okay.
5 minutes before your kids wake up and you're making coffee, like again, pick a time, sit down and just, you could write, you could write it down, but really drop in and think, you know, that's to me the most important practice.
I like that idea because I've written things down, but I like the idea of sort of the visualization part of it. I hadn't heard that before, and like holding that feels like an added layer because then you can really be in it.
Yeah, you're in it, and then your brain reacts to that. I mean, that's what really we want to create new neural pathways, the firing of that. So
Mm.
sometimes people don't see results from these practices, like you said, writing it down. Not, again, everything is about the intention and connection. So
Yeah.
there has to be some of that. And what is that? Is that a spiritual, soulful? I don't, I'm not an expert on everything. I know it emotionally allows you to feel and connect. And even if it makes you cry or it makes you sad, or, let's say you have a parent who's sick, or it could be uncomfortable, but that doesn't matter. It's really what helps us um, remain positive, thankful, grateful. And it really helps. Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of reminds you you're human too. I would
Yeah.
think there's like something about that like sort of like puts you in like like we're all humans, and you sort of kind of like connect with that. It's
Yeah.
been my experience.
Yeah.
What if somebody is overwhelmed and reactive, which I mean we all do all the time, is there like from an emotional safety place something that they should kind of do in those moments to stop the spiral?
Yeah. Um, there's a couple of things. Our breath is one of our most powerful tools we have. I think a lot of us forget to breathe. We forget to stop. And I know this sounds so like silly, but it's really true. This is probably one of the most helpful tools that you can do for yourself, is to, if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, heat's coming up, whatever it is, to remove yourself and take some box breathing breaths, like 4 in, hold for 7, out for 8, or just forget that if that's too complicated. Just into the nose, out through the mouth a couple times, but really focusing on your breath. With meditation, just the focus helps. If you're having like cognitive distortions or loop thinking or obsessive compulsive thinking about something and you can't stop, what I love to tell people is to like write down, obviously, the worries, write down, what am I worried about? Then we're going to write another column of, how can I move this forward into action solution? And, sometimes we're like, let's say, as an example, something bothers us about our interaction with someone else, but we're not having that conversation or communicating it. If I wrote that down, I'm upset with so and so, he did this, she did this. And then I write down, what is the solution, or how can I move this forward? And I write, well, to have a conversation, to address this, to stick up for myself. Oh, I could do that. Do I want to do that? Maybe not. But again, when you see it written down, it is helpful. So again, get everything out of your head and on paper. Um, and sometimes it helps to like compartmentalize it and just say, okay, I'll think about this for 5 minutes at a time. I'm thinking about it, and then I'm stopping, and create that
Yeah.
boundary for yourself.
Okay.
Obviously, all of us are dealing with different things individually, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the like some of the folks who listen to the podcast are either business owners themselves or thinking about starting a business,
Mm.
it sounds like probably these tools are helpful for
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. And is there one that I mean, we've obviously talked a lot about breathing and gratitude list, but from
Mhm.
a like a business
Yeah.
leadership perspective, what have you found to be helpful? You're a
Yeah.
COO, you're an author, you're, dealing with clients. Like, what do you kind of lean on?
Yeah. I think, you know, perspective shifts, like reframing. I have my own business, again, running a private practice, and again, building these online courses that are really important for me for people to find. But however, it's saturated out there with wellness
Yeah.
professionals, and so again, I could start the self talk of, this isn't going to do well. This is so saturated, right? But again, I stop and I, in terms of perspective, I try to change that inner dialogue. And so, again, I think the biggest thing we can do as entrepreneurs is check your self talk. Check your self talk. Reframe that self talk. If this is never going to work, I'm going to fail.
Mm.
Absolutely not. I mean, that has come in and will come in, but I'm like, Erica, stop. Reframe. You're doing your best. This can be successful. Let's give this a go. You can do this. And again, I have a book on affirmations. It's called 101 Affirmations. And because affirmations were so helpful in my own personal journey and with, hundreds of my clients, I wrote a book on it. And it's really amazing. And I've gotten feedback on people that use affirmations, but it changes everything when you can encourage yourself. And so I give people the 101 affirmations in case you can't come up with them yourself, and a little bit about our narratives and why they're helpful to change those. So yeah, I think that's great for entrepreneurs. Affirmations.
I like that. And it is sometimes in my experience when I've read affirmations and I say them to myself, it feels silly, which is sad because they are like, you should have those at your core, but like you
Yeah.
can talk negatively to yourself, and that's almost easier than sometimes talking positively about yourself
Yes, yes,
to
it is.
yourself.
It is. And that's why you have to constantly redirect yourself, redirect yourself, redirect yourself. I mean, like it's ongoing. And sometimes, maybe I'll be stuck with a negative thought for like more than I probably would like. And I have to be aware of, like, okay, this is what's creating the anxiety. This is causing a little stress. This self-talk, we have to stop. And again, I guess that comes down to the foundation of self-love for all of us. So just like, I have to help myself. I have to love myself. I have to, you know, be able to recognize, hey, Erica, that's not loving. That's not loving to yourself. That's not compassionate to yourself. Let's change that. And like, it takes awareness, but that's why I think, again, back to all of what we were talking about, to have these self-care practices in your life kind of demonstrates that you do care about yourself. And so
Hmm.
it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere.
One of
Yeah.
my favorite mantras is change your energy, change your life. And I feel like
Yeah.
that all kind of plays into it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are you most proud of with your business?
Uh, with the business, helping people heal. Like I feel like, hearing success stories, being in touch with clients. I just talked to a client last night. We don't do sessions anymore. She's moved on, but she's doing great, still on this healthy recovery path. Like, just hearing back from people 10 years later, 12 years later, doing well. I really am proud of, having my work in the jails, and hearing from incarcerated learners. I have letters from people in prison that write me, and I have to get back to this guy. But helping them through that dark period. They're nonviolent people. They're just there because of, DUIs and issues where they've never gotten access to treatment. They've never gotten recovery help. And having a tool there for them. Just, again, like, that's what I'm most proud of, is just, even though I doubt myself sometimes, I'm just like, if this helps one person, like when I wrote Rewired, it's like, I don't care if this helps one person. This is inside me. It needs to come out. I'm a creative person. I know this works. And if one person sees it, great. Like, do I want 3 million people to see it? Absolutely. But, I can't make my life harder because, I'm not getting in front of 3 million people on social media. I'm not. I know there's a lot of comparison. We have a society now with technology that is just we're constantly bombarded by other people and other successes and other this, and really the noise, um I think we all feel. And so we have to just remind ourselves that, like, we're doing the best we can do. And if, right, one person hears something, great. Yeah.
100%. It can feel really debilitating if you think of like the general population, but for you in that example of getting a letter from an incarcerated learner, I mean, how that would bring tears to my eyes just
I
thinking about
know.
it. It's like
Yeah.
such a personal relationship, and to have such an incredible impact on their lives
Yeah.
means more than honestly having like a social media clip go viral, like in some ways you're able to really see the
Yeah.
direct response, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know.
Speaking of that though, maybe this is it. What has been the most challenging part of running your business?
Mm. I think like the ups and downs, the waves, like like, I mean, we have emotional waves. Every day is a different day. Some days we feel fabulous, some days we feel really low energy. I mean, I think the same goes for running a business. Like, we have months where we feel things are moving, things are connecting, we're connecting with others, and then there's going to be times where there's a dip, like clients drop off, or you know people don't buy your course or buy your book, whatever it is. The ups and downs of just having your own business is challenging. But again, I think if we stick with things and we just follow our heart, and, just if we love what we do, or even if we just want to try something, like, that's great. Believe in yourself and just keep going with it. Um, but yeah, I think that's been the hardest, is just the self-motivation, and again, that self-compassion. So it's like, what I write about doing, I have to do myself, because, I have to walk the walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's your vision for the business?
I would love to get my educational online courses. I have a company called the Rewired Academy, and the academy has, I have a Rewired coaching certification program. So I've had a couple people become Rewired coaches, so they can, again, we have a reentry program in Utah that they help people come out of jail and reenter society. Those are people with short sentences, and they all are Rewired coaches now. There's Rewired meetings. I would just love this academy that I'm building to become a real educational platform for people, not only in recovery, but the self-care courses, and everyday people being able to have access to, like Grow with Rewired that's coming out. Yeah, and those online tools.
Amazing. I know that's like the cool thing about those digital courses. It really opens up the opportunity for so many people to get their hands on it.
It's hard, there's a lot of out of reach populations that they're not near cities. They can't, there's not a lot of therapists in their area. There's not, like, they can't find the right way to get help. And I feel like that's these courses, um, it's just like a really great immersive way to learn. I mean, it's kind of like half, like reading a book and a podcast and journaling, like, all at time, because, like, I do videos, so I'm talking to people, and then there's questions, there's journaling prompts, there's check-ins, there's reading. And so again, I think it's just a nice way for the brain to kind of learn in different ways. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have a couple last
Yeah.
rapid fire questions for
Okay.
you. So, what is your number one affirmation, your go to affirmation?
You are strong. Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to do in the Conejo Valley?
Walk around the lake, probably. Yeah, I love walking around the lake and being able to see neighbors and talk, and see our dogs talk, just fun stuff.
What is one piece of advice you would offer to first time entrepreneurs?
Just start. I think just create a website, get a URL. I tell people, I have clients every day that I help them kind of, in terms of life coaching. I help them with career stuff, because I feel like I love doing that. And people have ideas, and I'm like, okay, what's your idea? Like, what would this be called? And they actually have names. People have names, and I'm like, did you get a URL with that? Did you check if you can get? No. Okay, so do that first. Get the website, get something up. It makes it feel more real. So yeah, I think start putting things into action. And like we could have ideas, we could research them all day long. Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Like, but again, with no action, nothing comes. Nothing comes. So I know so many people that have ideas but don't turn it into an actionable project. So again, just start somewhere.
Excellent. Mic drop. I love it. I feel like that is just that's the small step forward helps bring the momentum. So
Okay.
that's amazing, Erica. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It's
much.
incredible all that you've built. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your sobriety, on turning it into inspiration and positive work for others, and now for the more general public. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you so much.
love to learn all those affirmations, keep those going, especially for business. I mean, with life ups and downs, you have to remember to talk positively about yourself, and I think that that's a helpful tool for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You were
Of
amazing
course.
to talk to, and it was so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Conejo Valley Visionaries. If you like today's episode, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to rate and review us. That's the best way to support the podcast. To enter our giveaways, learn about local events, and to find out more about each guest, follow at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us an email. We are always open to guest nominations. Email conejovalleyvisionaries@gmail.com. This episode was produced by Cristina Dennstedt and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J.Sloan Productions.